the former FBI Director James Comey has appeared in court and pleaded not guilty in the high-profile case brought against him. He's long been a political foe of Donald Trump, who's been open about wanting to see him prosecuted. Our North America correspondent Carrington Clark joins us now from Washington. G'day, Carrington. You were in court overnight. What are some of the things you heard?
Yeah, this is another extraordinary day in American politics. James Comey, as you say, has been a political foe for Donald Trump for quite a long period. He served briefly as the head of the FBI when Donald Trump first came to office back at the start of his term back in 2017, before Donald Trump fired him. And Donald Trump has long sought revenge on James Comey. He tried to seek revenge during his first term. He wanted him to be prosecuted then, but he has now got his wish via his new Attorney-General Pam Bondi, and now the attorney he has put in place in Virginia, Lindsey Halligan, who was able to successfully get an indictment against the former FBI head, James Comey, and now he is facing two charges. One is making a false statement, and one is obstructing a congressional investigation. It was a relatively short hearing that we saw today in Alexandria. James Comey seemed very calm. He is very comfortable with courtroom settings. He has a prestigious legal background. On top of course, he's leading of the FBI, and he is represented by a very established lawyer in this area. Now, they are saying that they are going to seek to throw these charges out. They claim there is vindictive prosecution afoot, and also say outrageous government behaviour, both of which mean that they say these charges should be thrown out. They also want Lindsey Halligan, the attorney who was handpicked by Donald Trump, particularly for this job, to go after James Comey. They want her removed from her position as well. They say she was unlawfully appointed. It does look like this is going to be a relatively speedy matter. The judge has laid down the start date for January 5th of next year. So it's about 3 months away from now. They say it's only going to be a 2 or 3 day trial. That's the estimate at the moment from the lawyers representing both the government and James Comey. But really, this is part of Donald Trump's plan. He campaigned to go after his political enemies. He said he was seeking retribution and revenge, and this seems to be the clearest indication that he's going to use all the powers that he thinks he has as president to use the legal system against them. It is very unusual for a president to put public pressure in the way that he has on his Attorney General to go after a particular foe. And there are other people who Donald Trump has named publicly who would be concerned that they are about to face the same type of treatment. But it remains to be seen whether or not, of course, they can actually get James Comey convicted of these crimes.
Remind us about the wider story at play here, Carrington. Why is Mr. Comey's case so significant and attracting just so much attention in the US at the moment?
Yeah, so James Comey is an interesting character. He kind of came to prominence first during the presidential election campaign of 2016, but it was actually the Democrats who originally disliked him more and thought that he was disrupting the Hillary Clinton campaign. He held this quite extraordinary press conference as the head of the FBI about Hillary Clinton's email use. Remember the show us her emails calls. She said that was completely inappropriate. That he held that press conference to say they wouldn't be further investigating. They wouldn't be laying charges against the then candidate Hillary Clinton. But she thought that unfairly tarnished her name within the American public. And then during right up to the end of the presidential campaign, he then once again brought up the email, said they'd reopened the investigation, only to say they hadn't found any new actual evidence, even though they'd found duplicates of some of those emails. But then when he became, when Donald Trump was elected as president, Donald Trump, according to James Comey, put a lot of pressure on him to sign on loyalty to the President Trump agenda. And that, he says, is when the relationship started to deteriorate. He was instrumental in the Mueller investigation into alleged connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, and Donald Trump has held a grudge ever since then. He's repeatedly called James Comey a crooked cop, and he has been very open and public about his disparagements about this man. And that is unusual in part because it does open up this avenue for James Comey's lawyers to potentially use that to say these charges should be thrown out. But the question, of course, is whether or not the legal system is going to stop this, or whether or not James Comey does have legitimate crimes to answer for, which is what Donald Trump supporters will say, and how the system will cope with this quite extraordinary move by the president to put such public pressure on his Attorney General and therefore on the justice system.